Here, all stalwart and the most experienced person in supply chain management. So I'll be trying to more practical. I'll start with two words when it comes to a digitized here. In supply chain, data is the new currency and visibility is the new power. Second, digital doesn't replace people. It frees people to solve higher level of problem. Now I will walk you through a real life problem. How does the supply chain, where it starts, where it ends, and in what part of supply chain, in what turns the transformation has already happened. And each one of you sitting out here can visualize where are we sitting. It also gives us an opportunity. So while most of us would say that we talk about GenAI, we talk about AI, ML, digital transformation, but currently we still run our business on the Excel sheet. But we would say that we are fortunate enough to do this or to see this transformation from being, a completely non-data driven supply chain with completely digitized supply chain. So supply chain has three parts largely. I will break into the largely three parts. One is upstream supply chain. If I am sitting at a OEM position and I am middle one, and there is a downstream supply chain. Okay. So what this digital transformation solving problem? The digital transformation solving only simple problem, a flow of information. That's all. The flow of goods was happening earlier as well, from upstream supply chain to downstream supply chain, and for reverse logistic from downstream to upstream. That used to happen, 100 years back as well. But the most critical problem which this digital transformation is solving is the flow of information. We all know, how value stream mapping works, how entire supply chain works. So most critical problem even today, which we couldn't solve properly, is a communication. And that is where this digital transformation helps us. So let me, deep dive into the stages of supply chain and what is the possibility, so that you guys can imagine what is the opportunity for us to evolve. So, see, any manufacturing sector, it starts from the demand generation. So today we know that demand generation can be predicted. You must have seen how, and you would have imagined how come this Zomato and Swiggy people are delivering goods in a 10 minutes or in a 15 minutes or a 20 minutes. You know why? One is, of course, they would have had hustle, but their AI has learned, their AI is giving them predictive analysis that at what time in a day or at which day in a week we'll have a more flow or we'll have a more demand for what product from which area basically. And that is why even from the demand generation side, from the very first instances, the digital transformation has been already started. I'm just giving example of this e-commerce company, but that is not only related to them. Even in automotive industry, consumer industry, we can do that. Earlier, these things was happening basis, it was all human-centric. We have had a year-on-year databases which we could apply certain, logics, certain method, remove variability, give additional inputs about how much we are spending on marketing spend and all. And during that time, those brilliant people or people who could do all this through manual, stuff, they used to do. But now it is not that way. Imagine, can anyone handle this much of stuff, this much of data of crores of people on Excel? Answer is no. Only with digital transformation, these people could do, and these people could make such a big, business. The second one is, once, let's say, demand is generated, the planning is also today done. Of course, SAP has started a long year back. Then that era was a SAP era. Even if you learn a model, you would get a best paying job abroad. But the real transformation today is happening when the planning also is being done, digitally. There are companies who have adopted a complete digital planning, solution, which tells you what to produce when, and basis the lead time of each and every product, basis the material availability and all. So I do not know how many of us we are using all these stuffs for. One is demand generation, but I gave you example. Second, for planning. Third, when it comes, let's say if it is regular product, you would have already done the negotiation. But if it is a new product, Today you can run RFX cycle, RFI for identifying the vendors, RFP for getting the proposal, okay, RFQ for getting the quotations. So this is also being done today digitally. You might have heard about SAP Ariba and many other other softwares which are selling this basically their digital product. And earlier what used to happen is, as a buyer, we used to send email for doing RFQ. Now that can be done digitally, people are registered. There is Go Comet. Even the transportation cost can be negotiated. You just put your Incoterm, I want X works to, let's say, DDP. They would calculate and give you from that location to your destination, and 10 people would participate and tell you that what could be the best cost. So here also there is an immense transformation has happened, but very few companies have adopted that. I was part of 3-4 odd companies before joining EMotorad, but I have seen, I'm someone who has utilized all these digital, products. So let's say when it comes to RFX cycle or RFQ, you do that. What if you have a regular product? A costing is freezed, everything is freezed. What is the use of AI here? Yes, of course there is. Today we are doing our costing monthly revision or quarterly revision basis Excel sheet. There are softwares, if you really design well, few companies have already did. Schneider had tried to do it in a certain way or in a certain pockets. Their digital product gives them, even some companies are trying to sell their product. What it does is it fetches the data of RM index from LME or from, let's say, CMX, MCX, or from various digital platform, and it gives you a output that how much your product price could change. Yeah, one product has, let's say, plastic, has a metal. In metal you have SS, MS, silicon steel if you are having a motor, then copper, whatnot. So what does that software does is, that catches a data through API integration. Even if, for example, there are some company which has a metal or commodity kind of team, but many company doesn't have it, and it doesn't require even. So what happens is, generally, if you use API integration from all the websites, you can gather the data using the digital platform, and that data can be converted into your product cost, and that software can give you input, hey, your product cost in last quarter was X, now it is X minus 2%. Even that will give you absolute number. But I'm sure there would be only few companies who has adapted or who has implemented this software. So when it comes to, let's say, up to this, there is an upstream supply chain, and when it comes to a downstream supply chain, we know that, we have seen example of Safe Express and many companies sitting out here, how they have solved real-time problem of logistics. Okay, how they have sorted problem of placement efficiency. Okay, and we know that, today we know which material is where. You have online tracking, you have online tracking of vehicle. We could predict that, what material is getting delivered when, and you can do the planning. So there is an immense transformation has happened, in entire supply chain from upstream to downstream. And basically it is helping us to solve 3 V's of supply chain. One is visibility, velocity, and variability. We could imagine that, without this AI intervention or digital, solution, nobody could imagine that there would have been so much ease of life for us today to track the consignment, to do the better planning, to know. In fact, now it has been more of, proactive than reactive. There are people now. Of course, we are at not that stage. We are still in transformation phase, but trust me, 5 years down the line, it is not just a buzzword. The AI is going to transform our entire life. It will not replace the people, but it will give us, leverage to solve our mundane activities or mundane problem, so that we could focus on more productive, stuffs. Because all these digital, solutions or platforms, those are working based on our inputs, the way we have designed, the way we have, curated, the way we have trained them to solve our problems. It is not that AI is a god. which is coming and solving problem. We are the humans who have created AI, which, who are training those AIs and the generative AIs tool, the how to act basically. And so that is the today's reality. So I have walked you through, a lot of transformation which has happened in end-to-end supply chain, and we could visualize that there is a huge gap in possibilities and realities. The reality is very different, where whatever we talk, even I have worked in, let's say, 3-4 organizations. One organization has adopted this one digital transformation, another has adopted, different. As a startup, we are still struggling to adopt any one of them, basically. So the message is there is an immense opportunity to evolve this digital transformation by adopting one by one. And we are very happy that there are few organizations which are already doing that. It is not a shabby word, it is not a buzzword, it is a new reality. So this is what my point of view.
Yeah, right, Ashwin. Very good points you have mentioned. Because the reality and the possibility is different. Because of every company cannot adopt the 100% automation and all the AI systems, because everything needs investment and all the processes needs to be aligned, the organization should align. But the main topic comes when we need to add the sustainability part in it. Because every company, every customer is asking, what is your sustainability score? What you have done for this sustainability? So again to Ashwin, can you add all your views to this sustainability? How you will match all this transformation with the sustainability?
Yeah. So see, sustainability is nowadays a common boardroom talk. I do not know how many of you are facing investors or founders, or you're being part of boardroom, but I'm being part of boardroom or facing investors. I would tell you that this is not something which can't be taken granted. In fact, you might have been aware about CBAM. So CBAM is going to be deployed in coming year, and even if you have to export any material to Europe, you need to pay the premium. We might not be paying premium as an individual organization, but we might be paying as a country, because if we do not contribute to the sustainability. So sustainability has a different angles. One is sustainability from environment point of view. Second is sustainability from a supply chain or sustainable process or sustainable manufacturing point of view. So first I'll touch upon sustainability from environmental point of view, wherein scope 1, scope 2, scope 3, GRI measurement comes into the picture. I hope many of you might be already doing measuring what is your scope 3 emission, when can you become a net zero as a company. Of course, company like Ather, company like us can become. In fact, from day zero, we are basically revenue neutral or carbon neutral company, because our product gives a solution which solves a lot of problem. We are a e-bike company, electric vehicle company. But of course, it doesn't mean that if our scope 3 emission or product moving out of our factory is electric operated, that doesn't mean that we are not having a carbon footprint. Of course, we are using a steel which is being manufactured using coal plant, or which is being manufactured using a furnace. So coming to the point is, this is no more, a buzzword. It is going to be a reality when you do an export. And in fact, there are many companies and many startups which are into sustainability. They are getting good funding from, offshore. The FDI funding comes easily, and in fact, your turnover to your valuation rate is multifold when you are having an idea. Even if before having even a single revenue or single penny or rupee of revenue, if you have any product or any initiative or any startup working on sustainability, be it solar pump, be it solar operated any product, there is a high chance that you are going to get a funding from FDI or from NGOs, worldwide NGOs in a great extent. There are few names in Pune itself. Okay, if you evaluate them, a general fundamentals of your, PBT versus your valuation versus, or top line versus valuation goes for the toss, because those companies are giving preference or working in an environment wherein they are going to become a sustainable company or they are offering a product which is sustainable enough. I'm not going to go into the picture what is sustainability, how this is being measured, what are the rules and regulations, you all know, but I'm just emphasizing the importance of sustainability and trying to, tell you that we, as much as fast we adopt this space, it is good for us as a country. But the fact is, what Europe is doing, of course, we will have to have as a country, our government, our diplomats will have a talk to them. So there was a talk between US and European countries with Indian diplomats earlier, and they were asking us when India will become a net zero. They would have had, and they are having certain plans to, let's say, by 2030 or 2040 or 2050, Europe or US want to become a net zero country. Okay. And they also asked us when India would become this, and our diplomats have clearly denied. They said that we can't be part of this journey. There is a fundamental points why we don't want to be, even though we have an intention to do that, because we are developing country and those are developed countries. They could afford doing all this stuff we couldn't afford today. Okay. In fact, China also denied that fact that we wouldn't be participating in that. Had it been case that it is 50 years old story when we were also in the equal situation during the independence era. So that time would have been the right time to participate in sustainability and net zero race. But our government clearly stated that no, we are not in that situation. We are a developing country. We would need 20 more years to evaluate whether, or 20 more years to become a developing country, and then probably we will be part of it. So as an organization, my point is we should try as long as possible to be a more sustainable company from environmental point of view by, increasing or by emphasizing importance of reusing the material, okay, reusing, recycling the material or reducing use of the material. Let me tell you one fundamental point you might be aware. Why government is supporting EV? Government is supporting EV because they want to reduce their oil import so that the foreign deficit, the dollar deficit can improve. So, and this government is going to do, let's say, for next 5 years or 10 years, till the time the EV contribution is going to be, let's say, 25% of entire automotive sale. Once it has happened, the government is going to say, and of course, government is giving us time for that next 5 years or 10 years to figure it out, how can we make this electric vehicle or let's say hydrogen vehicle more competitive as a matured supply chain or a mature product like petrol and diesel. And so that is where the opportunity, exists in front of us, for most of the EV companies, of course, to adapt that changes, to avail that opportunity and to breach that, or to tackle that challenge of being a cost competitiveness. Of course, there are fundamental challenges to solve. As a country, we do not have a rare earth material to make those critical components. As a company, we do not have magnet, batteries, raw material, of course. That can be also solved. There are, certain diplomats who are already working to solve this problem, either from a different country other than China or evaluating that how can we solve internally in India, okay? But the fundamental question is it right for us? Is it good for us? I would say yes. Let us, take this as a challenge, work for next 5 to odd years, optimize the cost so that we are as efficient, as competitive as the well-matured product, which is gasoline or diesel. And then I do not know how many of you have traveled to China or other country. Of course, you guys have traveled abroad. You would have not seen a gasoline vehicle unless it is a recreational product or a adventurous product or a fashion product. They won't have gasoline product. They won't have diesel product, by the way. So that is what I could see, coming from a EV background, I could see this transformation is going to happen. The micro-mobility, we are part of micro-mobility basically. We are making some product which is between motorcycle and bicycle. So we have a huge potential of 3 crores or 4 crores end user, a new user every year, or a end user or a buyer every year to be converted into the micro-mobility. Also, a two-wheeler, a gasoline or a gasoline user, a petrol, the motorbike, which is two-wheeler or scooter users getting converted into the micro-mobility, which has happened in other part of the world because their road infra, their The infrastructure has improved a lot, and we know that it is going to improve in our country as well. So I'm very confident that, you know, from sustainability point of view, we are going to change fate of India in coming 10 years using this electric vehicle segment and everything.
Right.